Ruben Amorim's time at Manchester United has been utterly disastrous. No one can argue that it has been one of the worst spells in Manchester United's modern history. 24 points from 26 league games, losing to Tottenham in a European final, and the lowest place finish in Manchester United's last 50 years. Amorim's time at Manchester United has been awful. But the question is, what is next for Ruben Amorim? What do Ineos do? What do we do as fans? And how can Manchester United turn around one of the lowest points in the club's history? When Amorim arrived, he was considered the saviour of Sporting Lisbon. He'd won their first league title in almost 20 years. He had an 88.9% win ratio this season with that side, including a battering of Manchester City in the Champions League. He was flying high, considered one of the best young coaches in the world, and was eyed up for that very Manchester City job if Pep Guardiola were to ever leave. He was genuinely considered one of the best possible people United could have brought in. He brought with him his famous three at the back style, and I think a lot of United fans, myself included, thought this can work, this will work. United needs someone that can be here for the long term, that has experience, and a unique experience of taking a fallen giant like Sporting Lisbon back to the very top, winning 2 titles in the 4 years he was there, and let's be honest, he probably would have won a third had he not left this season. It all felt right. And that's when the disaster started. Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim immediately didn't hit it off. We were all hoping that Rashford would be back to the 30-goal-a-season guy that we saw a couple of seasons ago, and instead, he's out of the club. Manchester United struggled in the January transfer market. We brought in Patrick Dorgu, we brought in Aidan Heaven, 2 very good acquisitions for not a lot of money, but it didn't replace the goals that Marcus Rashford had left when he moved to Aston Villa. There was always going to be a difficulty scoring goals this season, but no one saw it coming that United would be struggling this badly. And the Tottenham game in the Europa League Final is just the icing on the cake. Ruben Amorim has got a 39% win ratio at Manchester United, and that's including an almost unbeaten run in the Europa League, other than that aforementioned game against Tottenham. In the Premier League, it has been utterly dire. I think in the last 3 months, Manchester United have only beaten Ipswich and Leicester, 2 relegated sides. It couldn't really get much worse. The question is, what faith do people have in Ruben Amorim? Why do people think he can turn this around? Do they think he can turn this around? And is he losing his dressing room? We did a poll on social media asking whether you think he will still be here in 12 months. Will Ruben Amorim be Manchester United's manager at the end of next season? 64% of people thought that he would. And that means that there is still faith in this manager. People do think that he will still be around. And it's not clear to see why. He said it himself. There haven't been the signs on the pitch. We haven't seen any improvement. In fact, I think we were 4 points off of third place when he arrived, and we will end the season 20 points worse off than our worst ever Premier League season. That is absolutely unthinkable. So why do we think he's still the right guy? Well, look at what he did at Sporting. Look at some of the other managers that we've cycled through in this last decade. Great managers who have won big things. Jose Mourinho had won trebles. He'd won league titles at every club he'd been at. Louis van Gaal had also won league titles at every club he'd been at. Even Erik ten Hag had come from a smaller club in Ajax, but he had done fantastic things with them, winning the league every season he'd been there, winning cups, getting to the Champions League semi-final with an Ajax side that, yes, it had some young talent in there, but hadn't been a European force for almost 25 years. He did all of those things. And they come to Manchester United and it is a similar story. They don't get the backing they need, they don't fully get the support, they don't get the rebuild that United require, and they end up getting sacked. Thrown on the trash heap, told that they're terrible managers, that it never could have worked, and it was all their fault from the start. And if that's the case, why are United getting worse? We get rid of these bad managers who aren't good enough, we replace them with better managers. Why are we getting worse? I don't think it is just on the managers. It can't just be on the managers. And by the sound of it, the fact that we still think the manager will be here in 12 months' time, I don't think most people think it's just on the manager. It can't be. Manchester United have been ran so badly for most of the last 20 years, since the Glazers arrived, and we've spoken about the Glazers so much on this channel. Since they've arrived, United have been holding on for dear life. It's never been positive, it's never been front foot, there's never been a plan, it's always just been hold on to the glory days, hold on to the glory days, and finally, that grip has let go. We can't do it anymore. Manchester United have fallen off a cliff that I didn't even know existed. I thought that the 8th place finish of last season, I thought that was about as bad as we could get. I thought with the investment in the squad, with the amount of money we've spent, there's no way United can finish in the bottom half. There's basically only championship sides that are worse than us this season. Every single team that is worse than Manchester United, other than Tottenham, but we can't say we're better than them after last night. Every team in the Premier League that is worse than us will be playing in the Championship next season. That is unbelievably bad. And I think that we are starting to realise that one manager isn't just going to come in and fix this. There is a whole club reset that needs to happen. We know this. We've been saying this. And yet when it gets tough and when it gets difficult, the easy thing to do is sack the manager. You can't always guarantee a player will be sold. You've always got hope that they'll turn it around. You know, we're never quite sure what's going to happen with a player. But with a manager, you can sack him. You don't need to wait for another club to arrive. You don't need to wait for a big money offer. You just get rid and you can start again. And that's what United have done. That's what most clubs do. But it's pretty obvious that it isn't Ruben Amorim's fault that Manchester United are in this position. Obviously, he's made mistakes. Every manager that's ever lived has made mistakes, some more than others. I'm not saying he's been the best manager in the world and it's just the players that have let him down. Of course he's made mistakes. But there is no way you can judge Ruben Amorim for what he is as a manager based on the squad, the club and the environment that he finds himself in. United just isn't in a place to accurately determine whether a manager is good enough to be here or not. We are not in that place. It's like trying to conduct a science experiment while the lab is full of wild animals. Everything is contaminated. Every experiment we try and do when we try and work out if a player or a manager is good enough is completely contaminated. We have to throw out the results. What we have to do instead is get the club in order. Make sure that the players that we sign are right. Make sure that the academy is working for the benefit of the first team. Make sure that the environment that the manager finds himself in and that the players that the club sign are the right ones to take Manchester United forward. Not just have they got a few goals and assists at their previous club, what are their personalities like? How likely are they to publicly argue with the manager on social media? How likely are they to turn their fellow squad mates against the manager and against the next manager and the next manager? How likely are they to down tools in the biggest game of the season? These are the sorts of things that we need to work out. Not just did they get a few GA last season. Because as Manchester United, it's more than just about that. There's a reputation and a standard that this club needs to adhere to, and we aren't doing it. So what can help Ruben Amorim? Because we've seen the problems, we've seen the weaknesses. What can help him? Ineos can help him. And they are really the only people that can help him. We can do what we want as fans. We can cheer in the stadium. We can talk on social media. We can make videos like this saying that he shouldn't be sacked. But realistically, the only people that matter are Ineos, are Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and to a lesser extent, the Glazers. That's all that really matter in this. And they are the ones that have to fix this. They need to build him a squad that is capable of winning. Like I said before, they need to introduce an academy system that is built from the ground up to play in his style, in his system. How useful are players from the academy going to be if they've never played in a back five, if there are no wing backs coming through, if there are no number 10s coming through? If it's all full backs and wingers, how is that going to work? Manchester United need to accept what they have with Ruben Amorim and they need to buy into it. This whole thing that 3-4-3 can't work or it's a defensive formation is nonsense. If you want to put 7 men forward, it's quite simple to do that. You keep your 3 centre-backs and your goalie back and everyone else can attack. That's a pretty attacking formation if you ask me. There's no reason why this has to be a defensive thing and that it doesn't work for Manchester United. His version of 3-4-3 could be very different to someone else's. It's like saying everyone that plays 4-3-3 is an attacking coach. Everyone that plays 4-4-2 is a defensive coach. Whatever the strengths of your squad are, whatever the manager's principles are, that's what that formation plays like. There's lots of different versions, and a lot of clubs are playing a 3 at the back at the moment. Wolves play it. Crystal Palace play it occasionally. The new Real Madrid manager will be playing it next season. It's not some relic of the past that can't work. Bayer Leverkusen went 53 games unbeaten playing with a 3 at the back. What Amorim needs is for Ineos to back him when it comes to the transfers this summer. They need to actually buy players that make us better. They need to put some goals in this side. That's something that's been massively missing since we had that front 3 of Martial, Rashford and Mason Greenwood. United need to replace those goals, and realistically, even that wasn't good enough to win trophies and titles. We need to replace those goals and then some. They also need to make it clear that he's not going anywhere, and that this whole thing of, oh, if he loses his first 3 games next season, he'll go. That narrative has to be squashed by Manchester United. Again, whether that's explicitly with interviews, with press releases, or just by the fact that they make it clear that Ruben Amorim is the guy. Like I said before, if you have an academy system that is adapted and changed this summer to play in his system, it's pretty clear that Amorim isn't going anywhere. If you buy a couple of wing backs, or if you buy some of those hybrid number 10s that Ruben Amorim plays with, it's pretty obvious that he's not going anywhere. We have to support him. So let's have a look at some positives. And it is very hard to find positives looking forward with Manchester United, but I've come up with two, and they are scraping the barrel, I'll be honest. The first one is 1 game a week. And it is a byproduct of not being in Europe, but we have seen clubs time and time again manage to do better things in the Premier League when they don't have that pressure and the extra travel and the extra games and the extra legginess and the extra injuries that come with playing in European competition. You can focus all week on what is coming up at the weekend. 1 game, more training time, more time to prepare. It's not ideal, we'd all rather be in the Champions League, but here we are. So let's focus on the positives. Ruben Amorim can actually work on a plan for every single game. He'll have more time with his players, and we can hopefully get the best out of the players that he has, as well as any new players in the summer. And the other positive, and I think it is a positive, is that yes, we may only have 100 million to spend in the summer now. We may have lost a chunk of our transfer budget. That isn't good. We'd all rather have more money to spend on more players to revamp the squad. But let's be honest, you can make our squad a lot better with 100 million quid. This squad is so improvable, it's not funny. If we spend 100 million quid properly, we can easily get 25 more goals into this team. And those 25 goals can put you another 15 to 20 points further up the table. All of a sudden, you are back in that European conversation. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, Marcus Rashford and Antony, 4 of Manchester United's 5 attacking players this season, scored a combined 19 Premier League goals this year. 19 for Manchester United. That is completely unacceptable. And admittedly, Rashford played for Villa for some of that, Antony played for Betis for some of that. But they were the players that we started this season with, and Ahmad, who was okay, he played well. Those 5 got 19 goals between them. That is just unthinkable. And it doesn't take a lot to improve that. Matheus Cunha got 15 goals by himself this year for Wolves. And I know they finished above us this season, but United, for every season up until this year, for the last 50 years, have finished above Wolves. He's doing that for a team that is smaller with lower expectations than Manchester United. And he got 15 goals. Liam Delap, he's been relegated with Ipswich this season. He's got 12 goals by himself. Just those 2 players bring 27 Premier League goals, which is more than those 5 United players combined. And that's under 100 million's worth of investment. United, if we spend well this summer, can massively, massively improve. And I do think that that's something to cling on to. And that's where Ineos come in. They have to back the manager, they have to spend well, and they have to change the atmosphere at Manchester United. And if they do that, there's no reason why Ruben Amorim can't be a success at Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on Ruben Amorim. Do you believe he's still the right man for the job? And will he get the backing and support that he needs this summer? Or is he completely done and I'm wrong? And Ruben Amorim, he's lost the dressing room, his tactics won't work in the Premier League, and Ineos don't back him. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.